Hello everybody, this is Chaos with Chaos Esports Productions, bringing you another Bronze Masters League Series game. Today we're going to be taking a look at another ZvZ here on Waystation. Now, the last time we had a ZvZ here on Waystation, we actually ran into a little bit of an issue. We came to the realization that our droning methods and our droning patterns were a little off kilter for where they should be, so we're going to be taking a look at the build that I presented earlier on in this Bronze Masters League series. We're going to be doing our roach timing push. It's basically a speed +1 roach push that we're going to be aiming for at the 10-minute mark. And then we're also going to be taking a look at how consistent we are droning, as well as how close or how far away we are from where our opponent is. So we're going to be taking a look at some of the more kind of nitty-gritty mechanic style of this game, just because we had some serious issues in the last game. We were, I think if I remember right, we were down like 9 or 10 drones at a given point in time, and it was like we had just way too many lings out on the field, weren't really getting anything accomplished, and just going to be going back and rehashing that just to make sure that everything is good to go. So without any further ado, let's get a little bit more detailed into what we're going to be doing. Now, the way this opens up, it opens up with a now I kind of tweaked around a little bit with the build. Normally we would be going for a hatch first on this build, but I wanted to kind of get an earlier gas just to ensure that I can get a handful of roaches out in case anything kind of went hairy, and actually they do in this game, so it's like, okay, this is how we're going to play. So we went for our extractor first, and followed up by our hatchery. Since Waystation is always cross-spawn, when you're down in the lower right-hand corner or up in the upper left-hand corner, you've got this really long distance, so you don't have to worry about any type of rush and things like that. So feeling pretty good, and basically we're solely going to be focusing on droning up until the point where we get our lair up. Now we'll get a handful of lings just to get a little bit of vision out on the map, but we're basically going to be focusing on getting out as many drones as possible, as quickly as possible, such that we have full base saturation in the main, and then full mineral saturation, as well as one full gas saturation. And then once we hit that mark, we just immediately switch over to building units and just continue on pumping out units as quickly as possible. So so far everything's looking pretty good. Our Overlord's already headed over to his natural to take a look and check on that timing. As we see, our hatchery's just a little bit before his, actually. Now, just to go back, let's take a look at the unit count. You're still doing pretty good on units. We're only one drone behind our opponent, so things are looking pretty good there. Don't really have any issues there. Now, we are going to go ahead and skip the speed early on, just because since we're going for a more roach-focused attack, we definitely want to make sure that we've got enough gas to pump out as many roaches as possible. And then we're also going to be throwing down our Evo chamber just a little bit before we start our lair once the queen pops out. So queen will pop out, immediately start the lair, and then continue on droning. Got a queen at our natural coming, and at this point we're feeling really good about things. And actually I'm going to go ahead and speed up just a little bit, that way we can kind of see where we're going. Now, +1 missile attack should have started. Unfortunately, I'm derped and totally forgot it. I know I get it eventually, but anyways, focusing on droning, as I mentioned before, getting out those overlords. Now, one thing that I have noticed as me playing Zerg is I tend to get a little preoccupied with my units. I build up just enough units to get everything going, and then I come to the realization, oh crap, gotta build an overlord. That's the one thing about Zerg that I think I've been struggling with the most, is making sure that everything is kind of timed out very well with the overlords. So we're looking pretty good. We are nearly at full saturation down on the natural. There's the last 2 drones there, and then our last 3 drones will be popping out here shortly, as those drones will be popping out. Now we're going to be focusing on getting our roaches. Now, we will slow down and talk about where things are at now. One thing that I did very poorly in this game is spreading of my overlords. Now, in ZvZ, you usually can spread your overlords pretty well up until the point where you know your opponent's going for lair tech, because obviously that will lead to hydras and things like that. So since this is the furthest overlord that I have out, I'm just like, yeah, don't have a whole lot of units. Now, fortunately for me, my +1 missile attack is just now finishing up, so even though these units will get taken out relatively quickly, and he actually does end up getting a lot of damage done on my drone count. As you can see, my drones are just getting annihilated. Got 10 more roaches now in the works. Production is still looking pretty abysmal because we're just trying to defend, get everything good and ready to go, and then once these roaches pop, we're feeling pretty good with our +1 missile attack, able to get as much damage done as possible. Now, unfortunately for me, this queen is just barely gonna get away, and then he's like, wait a second, gotta take care of that. I do get the last inject off, which is quite nice, and now I'm like, okay, lots of damage happened. I still have I have a fair number of roaches. I want to immediately go counterattack because there's a potential that my opponent didn't get up his economy enough to sustain a counterattack. So I'm going to be sending our roaches across as quickly as possible. And sometimes when you get into the situation where you're rushed and your opponent kind of beats you to your own timing, per se, it's good if you do hold it off to just immediately do that and see what he's got. So I come in here, I actually pick off one of his spine crawlers that's being built, and I'm like, okay, I feel okay because I forced him to build those extra units, which means those units aren't drones, and that's going to give me just barely enough time to get my drone count back up to snuff and things rolling. Now, if you did notice down here at the minerals and gas count, you notice that he held a lot of resources. And as a function of that, he's going to be, getting his roach speed up, and then also thinking about taking a third base himself as he sends this drone out. So, we're a little bit confused as far as what to do at this point. At this point, I'm starting to think, okay, well, I know he did a fair amount of damage, but I was able to recover from it relatively quickly. I mean, it was only like a minute or two before my drone count got back up to where it needs to be. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I've got the upgrade advantage. I want to do, get to my next composition type, because obviously roach by themselves isn't going to really cut it, especially if he goes for like mutas or things like that. So going to be focusing on getting our +2 attack as well as another evo chamber to start doing kind of double upgrades. And then we're going to focus on getting out our hydra den and all of the upgrades for the hydras. We do see him building an overseer, and we're like, okay, cool. We're going to try and pick that off. But yeah, we're feeling pretty decent. Like, even though we're not in the best of shapes, we don't really have a good idea of where our opponent is. Let's see. I haven't quite scouted this third yet. I kind of am in my mind saying, okay, yeah, he's probably going to take a relatively early third, or he's going to be very aggressive and try to continue on attacking. So I'm going to go ahead and build a handful of spine crawlers as well as my hydrogen back at home. That way, in case he does go for like some type of a counterattack and I push out with a handful my roaches and then my first round of hydras, that I'll be okay to defend any type of like ling attack or anything like that. So this queen is going to be utilized for a little bit of creep spread, and unfortunately this drone is going to get picked off by this pesky little zergling. And this is about the time where I'm like, oh, okay, he's got a third up. He's focusing on his economy more so, and we might be able to go ahead and put a little bit of pressure on. Now, as far as the supply is concerned, we're pretty darn close. I mean, pretty much the entire game we've been toe-to-toe as far as the drone count is concerned, but just recently he actually got a very big wave of drones, and for some odd reason did not transfer them down to his third. I'm not sure what the thought process was with that, but had he done it, he might have actually been in a way better position to deal with this this attack. So roaches and hydras are kind of getting up there, and now's our time when we're going to start focusing on being a little bit more on the aggressive side. We want to see if we can cancel or kill this third potentially, and then also potentially do some damage here at the front. So now, unfortunately for me, I do not have an overseer with my army, so dealing with these dealing with the swarm host is going to be a little bit of a pain. I come in here and I'm like, okay, there are swarm hosts here, awesome. I parsect out a little bit of my roaches to deal with that third, and at this point, we're just doing really good as far as upgrades are concerned. We're at 2-1, whereas he's at 0-0. So by him not getting his upgrades pretty much guarantees that we can walk in here and just get a ton of damage done. And with the majorities of my composition being Hydras now, since he cleaned up a lot of the roaches with the swarm hosts and the roaches that he had, we can get a lot of DPS going. And basically at this point we more or less can clean this up. We pick off a handful of swarm hosts from coming down the ramp and more or less take out his entire army, and basically we're just streaming units across the field. I would have taken a third behind this. I thought I sent a drone. Guess not. Maybe it was this guy. He's supposed to chilling out doing his thing. Decided he didn't want to go ahead and build himself a hatchery. Anyways, but yeah, we're going to move in here, feel pretty good about our upgrade advantage, and we're basically just going to walk all over him. So I think I do like this build style a little bit better than what I was doing previously with going for really, really fast speedlings into banelings, and then just kind of going from there. A lot of times when you play that type of play style, you're in a bit of a crunch because any poor trade just is pretty much an immediate GG. So he is going to go ahead, and Zergalicious is going to go ahead and tap out, and that is going to be the end of this video. So yeah, very interesting build, and it still seems to be fairly effective, so I'll probably continue on utilizing it for the ZvZ matchup. Whether or not it will be, I will try a handful of other build orders. We might see those a little bit later on once I kind of reestablish myself in the ZvZ matchup, because that seems to be my worst right now. So yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Feel free if you've got any questions about the build or anything more specific about potential things that you're dealing with. I'd be more than happy to answer your questions down in the comment section below. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to subscribe and check out some of my other content on my channel. I've got the Bronze and Silver League all wrapped up, nicely bundled in the channel, so feel free to go check out that content if you're more interested in kind of the lower league play styles. So and also, if you did enjoy, feel free to go ahead and hit that like button. And if you got any friends who are learning the Zerg race, also feel free to share with your friends on Facebook and Twitter. It's all greatly appreciated. So with that, I will go ahead and close this out. I hope you guys enjoyed. I haven't decided whether or not I'm going to do another Zerg video this week or if I'm going to do another Protoss video. We will see on Thursday. So stay tuned for that, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will see you guys in the next game.